back to the pod. Thanks for tuning in this week. This week we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about sort of how our aspirations as future registered dietitians have evolved over the past 2 years as we've journeyed through grad school, how different internships, projects, classes, professionals we've met have changed our outlook on what we want to do once we graduate. So, hope you guys enjoy this episode. We've got a lot in store.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Hey guys.
So, have you guys ever sort of stopped and thought about, I don't know if this is applicable to you, but has what you thought you wanted to do as a registered dietitian before entering this program changed since now here we are, a month out of graduation? Has it changed or has it stayed the same?
Oh, I feel like it's changed so much. I feel like
Really?
yeah, I feel like I've changed my mind at least like 3 times while I've
Mhm.
been in the program. I mean, I thought I wanted to, go into pediatrics maybe. It's like a pediatric dietitian, kind of always not always, but I've worked with kids in the past. My job after graduation was working with kids. Really liked them. Then I was thinking like maybe oncology or once I got really into like the whole like medical nutrition therapy when we did that unit. But now that I'm like in clinicals, I could definitely see myself doing more clinical work, whether it be inpatient, outpatient. So yeah, I feel like my mind was constantly changing, and it might still again, but who knows?
Yeah. See, I feel like going into it, I was like definitely pediatrics, definitely like something clinical, but now during my rotation, I'm like maybe I want to do like outpatient. So I feel like it evolved in that sense of like maybe not so much the chaotic inpatient of it all, but maybe like outpatient, but still like in a clinical setting,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I get that. I
Yeah,
know before going in, I mean, you guys know this, I've told you, but for our listeners at home, before I started this program, I've been working in real estate for like 5 years, real estate development. And then I was a personal trainer at night. And I just realized I like the world of health so much more. But
Mhm.
I wanted to sort of marry those two jobs together in a way where I was sort of, because we worked a lot with public housing. So I wanted to sort of find a way to increase access to health programming and healthy foods in these underserved communities that I was working in every day.
Mhm.
So I was really going in fully expecting to want to pursue community nutrition coming out of this. And that's still definitely like a passion of mine, I think, and something I want to work towards eventually. But
Mhm.
the clinical rotation has definitely taught me that that is also so interesting. And I was so scared to start my clinical rotation.
Mhm.
And then once we got in there, I was like, wait, you know more than you think. You're
Yep.
absolutely fine. And now I could totally see myself first year out working like inpatient clinical or outpatient clinical and being totally fine, which I did
Literally,
not see for myself.
my first day, my preceptor, he goes, "Okay, I have to do this TPN. Can you just do it?" And
Oh,
I was like,
that was my
"Sure."
biggest fear. Yeah, right.
He was like, "Obviously, I'll check it, but like, can you like just do it?" Because it was like a pretty busy day for him. So I was like, "I don't know if I can," to be
Real
honest.
fast. Yeah.
He was like, "You know more than you think." And then I just literally
Mhm,
sat down and I did it.
Mhm.
And it was
right.
perfectly fine. And he was like, "See, like, you knew what you were doing, like, you're fine." And I was
Mhm,
like, "Oh, maybe I do actually maybe I did learn something."
No,
right.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, when you actually have to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then Maeve, I feel like you have an interesting situation because you're working with kids, which is something that we sort of touched
Yeah.
upon briefly in our classes, but didn't go into depth. So, like, has this experience thus far, do you feel like you want to like work with kids going forward, or is it kind of
Yeah,
geared you in a different direction?
I definitely want to work with kids for sure. Like, if I could
Mhm.
work in a children's hospital and, like, an outpatient oncology clinic, dream job. Um, I would say, though, it's so much more to it, just criteria-wise and, like, everything's so different, the equations we use are different, like,
Mhm.
literally everything is different that I feel like almost now I'm, like, kinda stuck because I'm not as comfortable with adults, I'm more comfortable with kids. Does
Mm-hmm.
that
I
make
get that.
sense? Like,
Well,
it's
mhm.
Yeah,
not a bad thing, it's just, like,
it's
I'm
different.
kinda
Very different,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
different mindset, and I almost have to, like, relearn everything.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. No, I know one of my friends back home, she works at, like, Boston Children's Hospital as a,
Mhm.
PA, and she said, "Olivia, we're hiring for dietitians. When you graduate, would you be, like, interested?" And I was sort of like, "I feel nervous pursuing children right now because
Mhm.
I feel like then you're
Yeah,
kind of working with kids, right? Because as you're saying, it's something completely different. So
it
it's
is,
sort of
yeah.
overwhelming to choose what niche you want because there's so
Mhm.
many things I feel I'm interested in. I almost
Which,
don't
like
know what to pursue after.
yeah,
Right.
and, like, thank God I'm interested in pediatrics, and, like, I really love this rotation. I'm learning something at least 5 new things every day. Um, but like I said, it's almost like I didn't really get an adult experience, like, a true adult experience and, like, seeing patients doing, examinations and stuff on them. So I'm almost, like, kind of, like, on this route with career after graduation of, like, I need to find something with kids so that I
Mhm.
can stay with that. Not that it'd be bad to
Totally.
learn something new, but
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting you said that because actually for my undergrad, I mean, I was in a total, like, different, um, program. I went for psych,
Mhm.
and I still didn't really know, like, what I wanted to do with it because it's so vague, you can do so much with
Yeah.
it. One of the things I actually considered was a child life specialist, which was,
Yeah.
like, work, like, in hospitals with kids, so I feel like then going into nutrition, I kinda still had that, like, idea, like, working with kids but
Mhm.
I know, I think and maybe part of, like, why my mind changed was, like, the parents a little bit. So,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, Maeve, how do you, like, balance, like, working with, getting the parents to, like, take your
I
ideas into
mean,
consideration and stuff like
luckily a lot of the parents I've met so far have been, like, super great, super, like, hands-on, really, like, want the
awesome.
best for their kids, so they kinda just I tell them, like, I do the education with them, and I tell them, like, "You need to add fruits," and, like, "These are some things that can" like, bland foods that you can do to, like, really stop the nausea and that kinda thing. And a lot of them have been super great. There was one parent that was like, "I'm not changing what I'm doing with my kid," and I had to kinda just, like, walk
Mhm.
away and, like, put in my note of, like, "Is not open to discussion."
Yeah, that's gotta be
Mhm.
hard.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, "I'm not the parents, not my kid."
Right.
Right,
So,
right.
it's kinda like that boundary that you tiptoe on because you wanna think it's your kid, but you're not the parent, and yeah, it's been, like, kinda tough to learn that, to, like, learn how to, like, manage that situation,
Mhm.
um, but luckily, I haven't seen too much of that. But
That's
to answer your question, like, a lot of the parents are truly wonderful, and,
Awesome.
like, a lot of them I don't know what they do outside of the hospital, but a lot
Mhm.
of them seem to take to it, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna, like, do this, and we're gonna do that, and, like, we're gonna do all these changes, and we're gonna incorporate these things and, like, do all that."
That's
And
good. Pretty receptive.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say so.
Yeah, I do feel like it is hard not to get sort of, like, emotionally invested in people's lives that you're seeing at the hospital because you spend so much time reading through the charts and seeing, like, their whole
Mhm.
history, and
Mhm.
then I don't know, you sort of, like, develop, like a story of who they are and what they were
Right.
doing
Yeah.
before they got into the hospital, and then it's hard to separate that once you're, like, treating them, but I feel like
Oh, yeah.
it's almost easier to do that in an inpatient because it is that, like, 5-minute
Right.
interaction, whereas outpatient, you had the whole hour with them, so I feel like it was harder
Mhm.
to, like, detach,
Mhm.
and also just, like, remember, just meet people where they're at. Like, I feel like that was tough because
Yeah.
we've been studying this for 2 years now, we know the importance of following these certain guidelines, but to translate that to someone else who isn't as passionate about it, and they're
Right.
just like,
Yep.
"I'm gonna eat what I'm gonna eat. I don't
Mhm.
care," and not
Yeah.
sort of recognizing the ramifications of that
Mhm.
can sometimes be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's why I like the education part of it and like kind of why I'm like more open to like outpatient now. I mean,
Mhm.
even like you mentioned before, Liv, your like community rotation. When I was in that, I was actually at a private practice in Westport at Nutrigreen, which honestly probably one of my favorite rotations too with Sarah McDougall. Love her. She was great.
Shout out.
Um, adjunct professor, but yeah, no, I was, during that I was really considering doing something like a private practice just because I think I liked the one-on-one and like the being able to same thing like get to really know like the person and kind of educate them
Yeah.
on stuff that like they never really like would have thought of or like don't really like come across, and then which now that I'm in clinicals and I've seen both inpatient and outpatient, I think I could definitely see myself doing outpatient too, same thing, just
Mhm.
Yeah.
teaching people and seeing them like learn new things like when they
I
actually
think
like you know, like, when it, like,
yeah.
comes to them and you could see, like they're like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
I never
See it
even knew
click.
that." You're like right,
Yeah, I
exactly.
did that. I taught you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I think, like, for me with outpatient, because I started like, so my 2nd week, I started outpatient oncology, and, like, I have, like, my own patients in that just because they were like, "Oh, like, what are your interests?" And I was like, "Oh, like, oncology, I'm really interested in that." And they're like, "Great, you're gonna go to the outpatient center, and you're gonna see, like, these clinics or these patients every, like, 2 to 3 weeks."
Mhm.
So it's, like, kinda nice to, like you see these kids that, like, are going through chemo or, like, going in remission and, like, that kinda thing, and they're like, you kinda get to, like, build that connection with them of, like, "Okay, so,
Mhm.
like, how are you eating?" And, like, I get to see, "Oh my god, you're getting so much better,
Progress.
you're gaining more
Mhm.
weight, and, like, you're eating
Yeah.
by mouth now." Like, it's kinda like it's almost selfish, but it kinda, like, makes you feel good.
Right,
No,
just
just
And it's like
fulfilling.
exactly, it's,
Yeah.
like,
instead of
motivating,
just,
it's
like, an
rewarding.
inpatient that's, like, there for 5 days and then they leave.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Right.
Yeah.
that's what I liked about outpatient too, is, like, seeing them, like, getting to follow up with them. Like, yes, you follow up with them in hospitals, but, like, outpatient, they're, like, coming back. You're, like, building that relationship with them,
Mhm.
which I think I
Mhm.
really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, like, another shout out to Sarah McDougall because right now we have to take this course
Right?
called Nutrition Management and Careers. And it's sort of just a way to explore all the different avenues you could take with like a nutrition degree.
Mhm.
And so Sarah McDougall posted a presentation to that class and she was talking about corporate wellness because she spent a lot of time in corporate wellness.
Oh.
And I had kind of been interested in corporate wellness without knowing like what exactly it was. So her
Hmm.
presentation was really helpful and it did kind of pique my interest. So that is another thing I'm considering for post grad. However, something in the presentation that she did say was that when she was hiring for people in that position, because she was one of the managers at this company for corporate wellness, she said that she was looking for people with at least 5 years of experience. And so I
Mhm.
actually emailed her after the class and I was like, what kind of experience were you talking about? I've heard clinical is helpful. Is there anything
Mhm.
else? And she said, I definitely look for a clinical background. But with
Okay.
that being said, I've also hired people straight out of graduation if I saw something in them that I said this would be a good fit. So I feel like everything that I've explored always comes back to clinical foundation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just like I've sort of come to peace with that. And I think that's what I'll do. But it's just so funny that like everything requires a clinical foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Which
think that's why, like, with this rotation that I have at CCMC, I'm so grateful just because it is a 12-week rotation and it's full time.
Mhm.
So to be able to put that on my resume, especially, like, with my boyfriend, like, we're possibly gonna be moving with the Air Force in, like, the next
Mhm.
couple years. So, like, having that and being able to find a job in, like, Texas, Pennsylvania, wherever we end up,
Right.
um, I feel like really helpful,
Mhm.
Hmm.
um, just to put on a resume.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda
But
opens a
yeah,
lot of doors
that
for you.
does that does kinda scare me. I
Mhm.
also what piqued my interest was I was shadowing one of the dietitians, and she started at WIC, and
Oh.
she was a
Oh.
dietitian at WIC.
Hmm.
And so she kinda got to see, like, both sides. She got to see, like, adults and kids.
Mm,
Um, so
interesting.
she did that, she said, for, like, 3 years,
Mhm.
and she loved it, and then she went to clinical after that. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So would that be
I
something
thought
that would be interesting to you? Like, to pursue
I
that
think
after
so,
graduation?
yeah, 'cause I also really liked my community rotation. I was at,
Yeah.
Hartford Healthcare in Norwich, when I was living there at the time, and, like, it was kinda cool the way, like, it was intertwined into the hospital, but it was still, like, its own community thing.
Were there any, like, courses that we've taken that sort of shaped what you guys have thought you wanted to do? Whether that be made you say,
Mhm.
"No way, not for me," or made you say, like, "You know what? I kinda like this."
Mm.
Because 'Cause I'm trying to
See,
think back.
I think
Like
Mhm.
I really enjoy, which I think is what kinda got me into, like, the one-on-one, like, education, like, talking to people, like, helping,
yeah.
like, teach them about, like, just nutrition concepts and, hence now, like, the outpatient interest, I think was, like, medical nutrition therapy, or was
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
the name of the course with
Where we were,
Maggie?
like,
Yeah.
cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like,
Yeah.
adapting, like, recipes for different, like, disease states, and because I feel like same thing here we are going back to clinical, like, I feel
Yep.
like it kinda has really, like, helped with clinicals too, like, just having that
Yes.
background and knowing, like, okay,
Mhm.
like,
I know what this tastes
the
like.
sugar right, the sh it no,
Yeah.
exactly, that right, like, modifying recipes and, like, the sugars and carbs for,
Yes.
like, diabetics and, like,
Mhm.
how to swap, but also still make it appealing and
Mhm.
taste
Right.
good, like you said.
And I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
the
huge.
helpful thing about that class was that we were like, I feel like you learn better when you're, like, using your hands, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
So the fact that we were cooking in that class as we were preparing different meals for specific disease states, like, helped it cement so much further, and I still keep all the recipes that we got
Too.
right
Oh,
on my
I do
fridge. So I
too.
have, like, the Italian sub for a CKD patient, I have the gluten-free cookie recipe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Sometimes
actually
I
just
break them
made that
out.
recipe, like, not too long ago for Easter.
the
They're so
cookies?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cookies were so good.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Shout
Yep,
out shout out Chris. Chris,
Right?
seriously.
yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely think that class was very beneficial.
Mhm.
Yeah. I also feel like I gotta give Anissa a shout out because I feel like she put so much emphasis on cultural competence. And now
Yeah.
Mm,
going in, especially my outpatient, we had a lot of um, South Asian descendants and also like Hispanic people. And
Mhm.
so it was taking what she taught about cultural competence into those conversations because we still wanted them to be able to eat their cultural traditional
Of course.
dishes. Like we don't
Mhm.
want to cut anything out, but I was working with diabetes patients in my outpatient. And some of those cultures were heavy in carbohydrate food. So it was more about less about taking them away and more about creating new ways so they could
yeah.
still enjoy them, whether that
Mhm.
be like, portion control, or I think the cultural competence aspect was very helpful going into the clinical rotation and
Oh,
something I hope to take with me going
Yeah,
forward.
definitely. No, the culture and,
100%.
like yeah, and stuff like food insecurity too, I feel like we covered in that class, which
Mhm.
same thing, like, when you're talking to patients, like, definitely such a big thing to, like, keep in mind, like, okay, you can recommend, like, certain foods, but can they get access to them? Like,
Yes.
that's
Mhm.
half the battle, so, yeah,
Right.
definitely that was a great class too, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, going back to the cultural competence, it's been it's been helpful and for me just, like, being able to, like, utilize an interpreter and then, like, also portraying, like, what I'm trying to tell them in,
Mhm.
like in my mind before I speak.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that helped so much just to be able to, like, guide a conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree. And ladies, it kind of seems like we're at that time. I kind of just want to finish by
No.
sort of asking it's seeming like we're all going to be pursuing clinical after graduation,
Yeah.
but
I think
any
so.
objections?
Oh,
Yeah, no, I
no.
feel like we said, it's definitely a good foundation to have, and then, you know, like,
Go from there.
we're gonna be doing stuff our whole lives, so if our minds change again, that's okay too. But we'll have
Exactly.
that clinical
Yeah,
side.
I'm feeling confident in the clinical decision because I just feel like it sets you up the best for then
Right.
Mhm.
pursuing whatever you
At
want
least
going
for,
forward.
like in my
Same.
mind, I'm like, at least for, like, 5 years. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and then
Which
go from
is
there, see what
right.
pops up, if
mhm.
anything, and yeah.
Mhm.
Which is so funny because, as we said in the beginning, we were all so scared to
Yeah.
do clinicals,
Literally
and
so
now
scared.
we're really liking it.
And I was
So
like, "We're gonna do it."
I know. It is definitely scary, but yeah, it's an amazing learning experience.
I think
True. I'm excited to see where all of our paths lead us. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. We hope
Yeah.
that you've learned something. We hope that you've gotten excited about your future as a registered dietitian. And thanks for tuning in. See you
All right.
next week.
Great talking to you guys.
bye,
Great talking to
guys.
you.